Remarks from people who were listening in on Bodhisattva Breakfast Corner, and so I thought I would just read them and comment on them, because this is a nice opportunity in these short teachings to have a little bit of dialogue. Okay, so one person said, it's a bit disappointing to hear that enlightenment on one's own is unlikely. As a somewhat isolated American new to Buddhism, I lack the tools to evaluate a teacher's reliability. There's not even one near enough to pick willy-nilly. Recommending to rely on a spiritual teacher seems like an Asian solution that doesn't consider the very different American circumstances. Okay, so there's a few different points in here. What I was saying is that it's very important to rely on a spiritual mentor, because becoming enlightened is not a do-it-your-own activity. And we need teachers for so many other things in our life. To learn to type, to learn to drive a car, to learn to read and write. You know, all of these things require having teachers. And so it is with the spiritual realm as well. Having a teacher is quite important. And when we select teachers, of course, we want to pick qualified ones. So there are lists of qualities to look for, to check the teachers. And I'll talk about those during the weekend when we have our retreat. And those videos will also get posted online, so the people at Bodhisattva Breakfast Corner can also read those. And so in that way, this person will gain some tools to evaluate a teacher's reliability. In terms of there not being a teacher near you, you know, then many people face this situation, and people choose to handle it in different ways. In 1975, when I first learned Buddhism, there was no teacher, you know, that spoke English that I could find, you know, in the States, and I didn't speak Chinese or Japanese or Vietnamese or Laotian. So I went to Nepal to study with the teachers that I had met. Fortunately, now there's many more teachers. There's also the internet and different things. So even though you may not have personal contact with the teacher, you still can learn from Buddhism and still can practice, and it can still be very valuable to you. So I'm not saying that you can't be a Buddhist and you can't practice the Dharma if you don't have a teacher. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you want to go in depth into Buddhist practice and to follow it all the way to the end, then you definitely will need a teacher. Okay? But certainly on our own, and certainly as somebody who's beginning, there's a lot of material, you know, on the web and so forth, and books that you can read and learn from and put into practice. And then as you develop, and you know, if you want to establish a relationship with the teacher, then even though there aren't any teachers where you are, you can still go to where there are retreats and courses and teachings by teachers. Okay? So for example, I lead different courses around the country, other teachers lead different retreats and courses, and so people who don't have the fortune to have a teacher nearby can certainly travel a little bit and, you know, and meet teachers and study in that way. Okay, so I don't think that recommending to rely on a spiritual teacher is an Asian solution. It's more something that is practical for all of us. If I want to learn medicine, I need a teacher. And Dharma is medicine for the mind, so we want to have a teacher. I wouldn't trust a surgeon who had just read books. Yeah, and I wouldn't get in a plane with a pilot who had just read books. I would want somebody who had actually studied with somebody and trained and done the whole thing. Okay, so that was one person's comment. Then we have another one from another person who said, I'm not sure if I am up to a teacher pointing things out to me. Wow, a bond of trust has to happen over time, I think. Yes? Yet I know for sure, without a doubt, I need a teacher, a spiritual mentor. I need a teacher as much as a thirsty person needs water, and desire to have a teacher. But, gulp, to be pointed out in a small group, pretty vulnerable stuff. So one finds their teacher and then? Then you run away. Okay, so there's different ways of establishing a relationship with a teacher, and you're going to have different relationships with different teachers. Clearly, His Holiness the Dalai Lama can be one of your teachers, but you know, you're not going to have the kind of access to him where he's going to point out your stuff to you, because he has a few 10,000, 100,000 other people to attend to. So, you know, that's not going to happen. So you can also, you know, see how different teachers operate, and pick a teacher who fits your kind of personality and what you're up for. And also, different teachers do things in different ways. You know, the people who live here at the Abbey as monastics know that I point things out to them, but I don't point things out to the lay people as nearly as much as to the monastics. You know, you're out of the firing squad a little bit more. Yeah. It's not that bad, is it? And so, you know, it depends on your level of involvement and commitment to the path, and the kind of relationship that you set up with your teacher, whether and to what extent your teacher will point things out to you. Clearly, if your teacher thinks you're going to fall apart and dissolve in tears, they're not going to, you know, clobber you over the head by telling you that, you know, you have a problem with your temper, even though you might yell and scream a lot. You know, they're not going to say that, because they have some sensitivity to what you can handle. Okay? So I don't think you need to be too afraid of the whole thing, that teachers will, you know, by and large give us what they think we can handle. And if you ever think, oh, they're giving me more feedback than I think I can handle, then maybe open your mind and think, well, maybe I can actually bear more than I think I can. Because lots of times I think that our teachers see good qualities in us that we're blind to. And our teachers have more faith in us than we have in ourselves. Yeah? So sometimes if you know, a teacher gives you a project and you say, oh, I can't do it, maybe, you know, stop and reconsider that, you know, clearly they think you can. And so maybe find that self-confidence within yourself to do it. Okay? But as I said before, people are going to establish different, you know, levels of closeness with their teacher. And if you're not ready to be very close, that's completely okay. And I don't think your teacher will push you for that. Okay, so those were the questions. I think that's it for today. But these are good questions that people ask, so if people want to write more in, please feel free to.